guys doing? Mike here from Tires to Go, and today I'm going to inform you about the amazing tools that Tires to Go provide to get the customers what they need. As you know, we have the real same as cash, but we also have Snap financing. We use Snap pretty much to provide the customers the same equipment as they were buying cash on payments. Isn't that amazing? Pretty much what we do, you come indoors, we get you the application right away, we'll get you approved, and we'll get you the safe, affordable tires that you need and pay it off in 3 months. Simple, easy, affordable. Why not come to Tires to Go, where you get the real, same as cash.
At Life's a Beach Realty, we're all about life on the beach. Stunning Panama City Beach and one of the most beautiful properties on the Gulf Coast, Shores of Panama. Radiant, elegant, and spectacular. Steps away from white sugar sand, every room overlooks the turquoise of the Gulf of Mexico. Come in for your tour today. Life's a Beach Realty is your gateway to Shores of Panama, the shores, and a whole lot more.
There we go. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Sports Talk 49 live on BucksReport.com. Follow the 65,000 following on Facebook and everywhere else, and check out all the other great shows on here. Today, we're just going to be running through, a couple topics today. Of course, I reach out to the fans on social media, talk about who the Bucks pregame hype man is going to be. Today's issues with protests, a TMZ video, Leftwich video, and then, of course, PJ Fleck, things I want to get through today. I really didn't want to touch on that. I felt I'd be doing a disinterest. Of course, before all that, make sure you reach me on any of my social media pages at Blake Anthony 49 on IG or Twitter. But I really didn't want to get onto that. It's all about sports and things like that. But I feel I'd be doing an injustice not to at least mention, some of these things and stuff that's going on. And, like having the compassion for fellow man and things like that. So I think I would be doing an injustice not talking about something like that. But before we get into all that, make sure to check out all the other great shows here on Bucks Report they'll be on later today. Peter Blake and the Sports Web and many other new shows will come on. Let me get this list up for you here. Give me 1 second. Check out all these shows here on Bucks Report. Beware of the Bay, Real Bucks Talk, Red Flag Podcast, Buck What You Heard, Fantasy and Flavors, the Sports Web, Sports Talk 49, of course. You're here with me with Blake Anthony. Thursday Night Live, Bucks Journal Podcast, Hard Count Podcast, Tough Bucks Podcast, and of course you wash it all down with a cup of Ray. All the other staff members and writers and things like that. You got Tanner Suarez, Nick Citro, Jeremy Morrow, Rick Brown, Pat Yacinskis, Peter Blake, Al Keck, Anthony Bramande, Anthony Coleman, Hagen Wilhelm, Johnny Dean, Joshua Cineros, Ray Kennedy, Tampa Bay Ray, what's up? Charles Richardson, of course, me, your host, Blake Anthony, Tom Chang, Philip Swagler, Anthony Faubert, the Canadian, Kyle Keck, Joshua Allen. Those are all guys here, all the given content all the time here on Bucks Report, trying to fill your need, which with the COVID-19 thing and today's issues with protests and all these other, these issues coming out here in today's world. So we're trying to give you out as much content as we can with the NFL season horizon. Looks like the fans are going to be in stands and things like that. So it's going to be interesting coming into the new year. There we go. So I wanted to make sure you guys knew who everybody was and all that good and all that fun stuff. So first things first, how I always reach out to fans on social media and I talk to them and I told them I would get their voice heard and things like that. So I wanted to make sure that before I say my piece, I wanted to get their voice out and hear the voice of PJ Fleck and how things affect other people before I go into sports talk. I just, I want to make sure that I get this out and say some things and the issue that's going on now may affect people that you've never known affected in their lives, and they just don't talk about them or things like that. You know, they just don't want to feel like a charity case, and that's why I think a lot of issues don't get talked about a lot from people, because it doesn't really affect our everyday lives and things like that. And I just think the word empathy I put up, empathy is the ability to understand and share a person's feelings, and empathy is a catalyst for unity. And I think we all need to be reminded, you know, that everybody's human. It doesn't matter. And we all need to share each other's feelings and lift each other up. And I think it's just, I've said this, you know, 1,000 times to Big Nasty and a lot of people, that I'm a huge catalyst for positivity and things like that. That's why I try to help out and do things in community and things like that, and make sure to try to find time in my busy schedule to handle my personal life, as well as try to, you know, maybe touch somebody else's, whether it's with my time or you know, financially or something like that. But that's not, you know, the really issue. Is just being compassionate is the point, and having empathy for a fellow man, regardless of what they are, their financial situation, color of their skin, and things like that. Because I know I was on here talking about, you know, black coaching and things like that, opportunity, and here we are today, we talking about, you know, another racial issue, equality again, having this conversation. I've been on here and I've talked about female equality as far as pay, so I think I've pretty much established where I am on equality, and everybody deserves a fair shot, whether you're black or female or things like that. So I feel like I need to talk about those. So, but before I keep rambling on, which I normally do a lot, let me get to these videos. A kid named Aaron, I put his social media page up there if you want to have a conversation with him. You can. He's a very educated kid. So I wanted to make sure that his voice got heard, and he had some things to say. Here we go.
But the problem is, if you want to make a change, you got to change these laws. You got to change these procedures. Until legislation is changed, nothing will change. Rally and protest legislation. Take it to the courthouses. Take it to the government buildings. Just like healthcare and our educational system, our government needs a tune-up too. There's a lot of things that all of them do great, but the bad are pretty bad and definitely outweigh the good. And speaking on revamping our tactics, our old ways of protesting do not work. Look at history. Government brutality isn't anything new. Peacefully protesting and rioting did not work back then, and it's not going to work now. In fact, it's going to make us look more weak and more like savages, and will enable them to govern us even harder. So please, people, we need to think before we act. We need to plan it out. We need to have backup plans. Going in the streets with your phone on record is not the way, and we are better than. But the problem is, if you want to make a change, you got to change these laws.
There it is. Just wanted to make sure his voice got heard. He put that on there and sent it to my Instagram page. And I said I wanted to get up there and let him voice his opinion on what things that he said, what's going on in the issues in the world and things like that. Like, again, I don't want to make this political and things like that. I just felt like I needed to speak on this here at Bucks Report and things like that. And I think I needed to, you know, at least I have an outlet to reach it, you know, to talk to people, 65,000 people. And I figure I just, you know, let everybody know here at Bucks Report, we're supportive of people trying to make a change, and it's important for everybody. And like I said before, I've made my point on equality for everybody, men, women, black, white, green. And I just wanted to get that out today, and then we'll go into the sports. So there's two more videos, and both are regarding sports and how this issue is affecting people in sports as well, because I know that's what we're here to talk about. Hence Sports Talk 49. I'm not here to be a political show or anything like that. But again, like I said, I feel it's important to at least mention some of these things. So like I said, I got two more videos to show. One is the J.R. Smith video, and the other one is PJ Fleck, which is here today, which I had to scramble and put out the work. Put this out so you guys can get to it. And then after that, we'll get back to talking football and things like that. Let's put up this J.R. Smith video now. Give me a second. Oh, Lord. There we go.
Guys, don't record it, please. Please, just respect his privacy, please. Come on. Come on.
JR, you good, you good, you good.
Hey, JR,
You good, you good.
I just want y'all to know right now, before y'all see this shit somewhere else, one of these little white boys didn't know where he was going and broke my window in my truck. Broke my shit. This wasn't this is a residential area. There wasn't no stores over here, no none of that shit. Broke my window. I chased him down and whooped his ass. So if the footage come out and y'all see it, I chased him down and whooped his ass. He broke my window. This ain't no hate crime. I ain't got no problem with nobody ain't got no problem with me. There's a problem with the system. That's it. The broke my window and I whooped his ass. He didn't know who window he broke. And he got his ass whooped. Just so y'all see it later, I'm telling y'all now.
As a football coach, you're in charge and you're responsible for 115 young men of every race, every religion, every background, every family background. And they're all working together to strive and come up with all the common goals. And they share those. Everybody's rowing towards the same thing, same vision. They love together. They win together. They share defeat together. They lose together. We share our differences together. The world right now could learn a lot from college football teams. Half of my players are African American, half are Caucasian and white. And the world can learn a lot about how these young people are standing up, saying what they feel, and making sure their voices are heard. And as a head football coach, that's our responsibility. This week, I've told our football team, I'm a 39-year-old white Caucasian male. I'm not your head football coach. You tell me, you call me, I'm here to listen. Too many times as a head coach, we want to talk and talk and talk and talk, and we get paid to talk, and we talk for a living. But this is the time to listen and to have empathy and to be very real of what's going on with the social injustice around us. This is a life program, not a football program. Our program takes on societal issues head on. We keep open dialogue with our players about those societal issues. We have a Gopher for Life program about things that happen in our society. And it doesn't just have to happen in Minneapolis for us to talk about it. I think as a educator, a teacher, a head coach in 2020, it is our obligation to take what's happening around the world at certain times and be there to teach and educate our students and give them a platform to be able to make sure that their voice is heard. I've enjoyed living in the Twin Cities. This is a remarkable city. It hurts my heart. It hurts my soul that our city is going through this and that this is where it all started of what's going on with what has happened in the last week. And, you know, people always ask me what the hardest part about taking the jobs you have taken, whether it's Western Michigan or Minnesota, maybe not having that predominant success in football over the recent years. And I always tell them it's changing people's thoughts, perceptions, ideas, and beliefs to think we can. And when you compare that right now to what's going on in our country, I feel it fits really well. That have been generations upon generation upon generations who have passed down hate to hate to hate, that have combated hate with more hate instead of hate with love. And it's up to this generation of our players, our millennials, that people talk about all the time that have too big of a voice. They say what they feel. They always ask why. This is the generation that can change this. This is the millennial generation that can change it themselves and educate their kids and their kids' kids to make sure that this social injustice stops and this hate stops. And it's unfortunate and sad, and it hurts my heart and breaks my heart and soul that it has happened in a city that I'm so fond and love so much and become so fond of. But if it can happen here, it can happen anywhere. And I think that's what everybody's seeing around the country right now is that everyone's hurting and everyone's going through this. And it's not just isolated to one city, that this can happen anywhere.
PJ Fleck, everybody. If you're just tuning in, this is Sports Talk 49 live on BucksReport.com. Follow 65,000 on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Instagram at BlakeAnthony49. As you can see, I post people's, questions and concerns and stuff they want to talk about on my page and on my live shows and stuff like that, so I can get your voices out. Because one of the main things I wanted to be a voice when I first got in this thing. But before we get into that, there's one last thing I want to share before we move on and just talk about sports and things like that, is that have empathy for your fellow man, your fellow brother and sisters. Have empathy and share each other's pain is the only way we're going to move forward. And I think that's the real issue here. I just want to tell one story that probably people never heard or never know stuff going, it's stuff that doesn't happen to people that you know and may not know this has happened to them. So I'm going to tell you this story. It's a story of a boy. He got sent to a private school. Private school went through K through 12. And he was the only black kid in that school. And he was beat pretty much every day. Derogatory things were said to this boy. And racially, things that you wouldn't say to a kid, 5, 6, 7 years old. And you get physically abused by the adults there every day. But this boy, he thinks it's normal. He never says anything, so this goes on for so long until he finally shares that story with his parents. And then when his parents find out, of course, they go up there and have a fit. They move on. Now, the point of this is that the kid was racially, treated indifferent because of the color of his skin, nothing else, than all the other kids that were at the school. The individual didn't grow up and hate, people that weren't the color of his skin and things like that. I know I'm on my Stephen A rant right now, but he didn't grow up hating them because of it. He tried to go every day and try to change the narrative and try to change people's thoughts if other people felt the same way like that. And they try not to fit the criteria that people think that you're supposed to fit in. And that's why, Stephen A rants on about fair opportunities and expectations for people of color and things like that they're not always given a fair shot. I've seen several studies that people aren't asked for interviews because of their names and because they can tell that they're of color and things like that. But that's not always, the case for everything. And that's not what I'm trying to, advocate. I think people of color just want a fair shot and be treated just like everybody else. I don't think anybody wants to be treated as a handicap. Men, women especially, and I'm really still paying attention to the whole soccer fair pay thing. It's kind of went under the water right now, a wayside with that. Still checking into that issue, but as I said, this kid didn't grow up and hate them because of that for what happened to him or play a victim and things like that. So, but that kid had a choice of what to do and grow up and try to change narratives and things like that. And what if I told you that kid was me? What if I told you that kid was me? So you don't know people that have these issues that happen to them and the way they grow up and things like that and the way they think and the loads that they carry on their shoulder. Now, I'm not saying everybody don't carry loads, but it is a little different. It's a little different when the expectations for you are different than other people. But it's like I said, I don't want to get hardcore into that. I just felt like I needed to get on here and talk about that and let the people know that here at Bucks Report, we support equality. We support everybody having a fair opportunity and be treated the same as they want to be treated. That was my main point of that. I know it was talked about that for a little while. Phone lines ain't open yet. If you're trying to call, I'll turn it on here in a minute. So let's get into football and all that. Let's get through that. I done went on with that for now. There was something I thought was interesting, watching The Last Dance with Michael Jordan. Derrick Brooks said that it takes more than one person, to change a team and things like that. And I watched, I was watching The Last Dance, which I know it was great, and a lot of people saw it. ESPN put that out. I think it was great, getting the words of people out at that time, but how high caliber basketball was that back then, exciting. So I pulled a clip from that, and I thought it was interesting. One of the greatest to ever play basketball, give or take, who you're talking to, said these things, and I think it's true, and I've said that, even when it wasn't him. In the other case, it takes a team to win. It takes a team to win. Check this video out real quick. It's just a real quick clip.
How do you carry this team now in November and December without Scotty?
I think we have to do it collectively. I don't think one individual is going to be able to do it. I think we as a team, that's what a team is all about, you know. So we have to cover up for Scotty not being here. We know he's not here, but that don't mean we stop playing.
Our Chicago. How do you carry this team now?
And I like what he said. It takes a team to win. That was around the time when Scottie Pippen was gone, and they thought Michael Jordan carried by himself. It takes his team, even though his expectations were so high for people, and he rode them and tried to get the best out of them. And that's what you're supposed to do as a leader. You're supposed to do as a man of that caliber, and not always. There's times where it is about you got to be yourself and go into that savage mode and pull your team out of the a hole and get the win and things like that. And there's teams where you got to uplift people. And the reason I bring that up is because Tom Brady has that same type of expectations, and he comes here to Tampa Bay with that same type of winner mentality. Even though he's 43 years old. 42 going on 43. I'm not sure if he reached 43 yet, but that's just the expectations that are going to be and the things you're going to have to do and find ways to motivate people. I think Bill Parcells was one of the biggest motivators, team motivators. Find ways to motivate your team to get the best out of them, and that's what you're supposed to do as leaders and captains and coaches. I think the best story I've ever heard of Bill Parcells was that the greatness of Lawrence Taylor, UNC, of course. The greatness of Lawrence Taylor, he struggled against, I can't remember, I think it was Minnesota or somebody, the player playing Seattle or somebody. And Parcells told him that, you struggle against this guy. No, they put a plane ticket in his booth, and LT asked him, what's this plane ticket? And he was like, well, I wanted to swap you out for another guy. I can't remember what team it was. So he plays better against this offensive tackle, so I figured you two could swap jerseys for a week so I can get better production out of him. Well, that motivated the hell out of LT, and he had, 2 or 3 sacks that game against that tackle. But it's being able to push the right buttons and having players on your team that are motivated to be better and not there just to collect checks. Now, granted, they are there to get paid, but that's just what it is. What's going on, Mike Stover? I got my Anthony College football book now, waiting on the pro. Oh, you guys talking about computer? And that's how you build winning cultures. That's how you motivate your team to be better and things like that. That's just how those things work. So, and there's one more. No, I'll get to that later. That's how you motivate a team and get the best out of them each and every day that you guys suit up and line across and play opponents in this league. And Tampa Bay is desperately trying to change culture here. Just getting rid of Jameis Winston and now bringing in the greatest of all time and Tom Brady as far as at the quarterback position, or maybe football player ever. I don't know how you're going to grade that, but definitely at the quarterback position, neck and neck there with Joe Montana. But it's going to be a fun season. I'm just glad that everything's going to be rolling. It's going to be interesting to see if fans are going to be in the stands. Are they going to be wearing masks? What kind of practices are you going to do so the NFL doesn't get liability issues and things like that? I think there's a lot of questions that need to be answered. Again, if you're just tuning in, this is Sports Stack 49 live on BucksReport.com. I'm Blake Anthony. This is my show. Let me turn on the phone lines here. Let me give you a second. Let's get to that here. Now make sure the phone line is open in case if anybody wants to call. All right. That is fully operational. All right. So let me show you one more video. It's a Byron Leftwich throwback video. I thought the NFL was kind of cool for showing this. And for people to remember who Byron Leftwich was, before he became an OC, and very successful at the quarterback position out in Jacksonville. Besides Mark Brunell with that franchise. But let's check this out real quick.
Float it now. Get it out there. Let's go. There you go. There you go.
Get it. Oh! What a one-handed grab and a catch.
Know what I'm talking about.
Torrey Holt.
Wow, I'll tell you what a nice play that was.
Making a late push for the watch.
Don't float it now. Get it out there. Let's go.
Pretty cool video. I thought that was awesome to see Byron Leftwich, and hopefully he can check that out and see himself back in the day slinging the rock for Jacksonville Jaguars and having plenty playoff games against Tom Brady and playing in the AFC and having to play against him every year in the playoffs. Sadly, he couldn't beat old Tom. So it's going to be interesting to see if Tom Brady can teach Byron Leftwich some things about how to beat their offense and what are game plans. So there's a lot of insight that you can get from Tom Brady, besides obviously the greatness that he brings in himself and the expectations and the level, of fluidness that he runs in his offense. There's a lot of intangibles that aren't talked about that you can get from him. When we talking about Tom Brady, and especially with Bruce Arians too, mixing the offense between a vertical and a check down type offense. I wouldn't call it check down. I told you I call it the Golden State Warrior offense, finding ways to get the other person open and things like that, running those drag routes, crossing routes, and things like that. I just can't wait for football to get running again, so I can give you guys a bunch of tape and stuff that we got going on here and plays that they're going to be running down here at camp. And I'm really looking forward to that. Giving you guys good insight, talking to some players and stuff like that. I'm going to be really intuitive with that this year coming up. It's going to be fun. And I'm looking forward to seeing a bunch of you guys. And if you're just checking in, this is Blake Anthony at Sports Talk 49 live on BucksReport.com. Like, I know it was kind of a dry subject, but I felt the need to come out and talk about the injustice in the system and stuff like that, and the way people feel and stuff like that. And there's need to be change. There's nothing wrong with change. Change is always good if it's for the better, and if that person doesn't work, you have the ability to vote and get those people out of there and get people in there. And I felt like I needed to talk about that if you guys are late tuning in. And we got to hear from a fan on Instagram, heard from PJ Fleck. And I'm sure you're going to hear from many more across the news, because that's all you're going to see on your news feed, that with COVID-19. I just felt like the need today to come out here and talk about that and just talk about a little stuff that's going on in the sports. So not a whole lot going on. It's pretty much a standstill at this time as far as sports goes, so everything fully gets running. Training camps, people get past the phase, get to phase 3 and all that stuff. So it's going to be really great getting back to status quo of things whenever they get back. And I just really hope that everybody here and whoever will watch this later stays safe and your families are good and you're able to get to work and things like that. And I hope hopefully that we get through this. And the biggest message today was just the word empathy, the ability to share and understand the feelings of another, unify each other. This is the United States of America. Unite. Try to learn how other people work instead of finding more reasons to separate from each other and find more reasons to come together. And we're really all about that here at Bucks Report. Got people from all ages and all different backgrounds, and it's great. It's a great environment. I know people have their indifferences and things like that with other people, other people that cover the team and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, everybody needs to be all same team and stuff like that. But it doesn't always work. Families argue and things like that, but same team. I remember that wasn't the QB competition that Brad Johnson won in 2003. Brad could sling the rock a little bit. Who was that? Mike Stower. Yeah, but Brad could sling the rock a little bit. He was the true catalyst for a West Coast offense. And I remember that they used to do weightlifting competitions where Javon Curse and Warren Sapp used to be monsters. Lifting those inclines on those competitions, the weight bench thing and stuff like that. So it was really fun to watch back then, with the old timers in that group. And I know the NFL is really trying these days to make the competitions even more different, to technology in today's game and things like that. So I think that's kind of cool, trying to get back to that now, being in Orlando instead of Honolulu, Hawaii. So it's good that things are always changing. I don't have much else, guys. Today it's not much, hopefully, more goes on in the future with the rosters and things like that. And we can all get some more information out to you guys. I know Peter Blake's coming on later with the Sports Web. And I'll make sure to get you guys. Follow me on Twitter. I'm always constantly talking on there with the topics and things that people bring up. And I always reach out to you. If you got questions and things that you want to talk about. I'm currently in a lot of works with talking to a lot of former players and building a lot of relationships with people and finding insights and things that's going on in the league, so to figure out perspectives and stuff like that. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be great. I don't got much else, guys. I appreciate you guys tuning in for the 30 minutes that we were rolling today. And I'll get some more content out to you guys, probably break down some more video. Make sure to check out Real Bucks Talk. They've been doing a great job breaking down all these videos, things like that. So it's going to be fun. And Javon Curse, the freak, yep. I'm going to this as we always do. You're the master of everything. What you do with your life, what you do with it is entirely up to you. Thank you guys. God bless, and fire those cannons.
How you guys doing? Mike here from Tires to Go, and today I'm going to inform you about the amazing tools that Tires to Go provide to get the customers what they need. As you know, we have the real same as cash, but we also have Snap financing. We use Snap pretty much to provide the customers the same equipment as they were buying cash on payments. Isn't that amazing? Pretty much what we do, you come indoors, we get you the application right away, we'll get you approved, and we'll get you the safe, affordable tires that you need, and pay it off in 3 months. Simple, easy, affordable. Why not come to Tires to Go, where you get the real, same as cash.
At Life's a Beach Realty, we're all about life on the beach. Stunning Panama City Beach and one of the most beautiful properties on the Gulf Coast, Shores of Panama. Radiant, elegant, and spectacular. Steps away from white sugar sand, every room overlooks the turquoise of the Gulf of Mexico. Come in for your tour today. Life's a Beach Realty is your gateway to Shores of Panama, the shores, and a whole lot more.